Hello and welcome back to Stranded Deep, welcome back to the map editor, and welcome back to this island that we're making. Currently we have the largest shipwreck we can get our hands on, we have these little offshore islands, and we have a wood in the middle of the Pacific with trees that we can hop, skip and jump over, walk between and camp and stuff. And I hadn't planned on the camera going this slowly, but it is. So if you are joining for the first time, oh, this lad. Every time it's this lad. We are using W to go forward, S to go back, A to go left, D to go right, Q to go down, E to go up. We're holding the right mouse button to pan around, and we are using, if we select an object, this boy, it's going to be a good object to select. We are using R to rotate, T to transform, and C to clone. We can also press D to delete, delete to delete. And then if we have something selected, F to focus. Excellent. I think that's all the controls. So yeah, the island is looking pretty good for a default island. So what happened was we came here, we just started with what the game gave us, because why would we not do that? We started off by putting in the largest, the cargo ship. We put in some wrecks underwater. We started off with a tiny little island. We just made a little island offshore just to kind of give ourselves an idea of how much detail we're going to throw into this map. We then added some cliffs. We have added some trees and bits and pieces on the cargo ship side. We added another little offshore island, kind of a sandy little arc out there. We've added to the left, camera's a bit weird, to the left we've added a bunch of trees on the peninsula, and in the center we've added, a forest. Yeah, we put a forest through it. Now the camera is going to go and speed up and slow down and jump around all over the place, because there is one other thing you need to know about the map editor, and that is when the camera gets close to an object, it slows down exponentially and then speeds up as soon as it's away from the object, because, well, there's no continuous camera speed in the map editor. In fact, this is as fast as the camera goes until it lets go, and then it gets a little bit weird. So the more objects you add on a map, the more herky-jerk the camera becomes. So last time we were working on this, which is a little jumping puzzle offshore at the end of the little river buoy, which is kind of fun. It's a little fun thing to do. It is fairly deep here, as in when we come back to this, actually in the game itself, all this area will be covered in coral and there'll be little fish and things swimming around, so that's kind of nice. We did add on top of this little rock island thing a prize at the end of the rainbow, so we hit terrain, so we don't have anything selected in objects. So we added some tins of food, we added some strips of leather and a little torch and some yucca, so that anyone coming out this way will have to come back if they want some extra yucca leaves. Excellent. That is something that is pretty sweet. We have definitely a definite theme for this side of the island. So these rock pillars, which is not mirrored on this side of the island. This side of the island is definitely, the theme is big sweeping beaches. So we can do something with this. We can make this look a little bit better than it currently is. This area here kind of still bothers me a bit because it's kind of open and we haven't really done anything with it since the beginning. We did come out here and put some trees out beyond the shoreline. At the time it was like, well, why are you focusing on this in detail? And now it's like, well, we're focusing on lots of small details, lots of small vignettes that make up the larger island. So focus on the small things and the big things will take care of themselves. Isn't that the way it works? I think that's the way it works. So this side of the island we have literally not touched at all. Well, I mean, apart from brushing the terrain around a little bit, it's still very much as it was, and I think we're going to need to do something with this just to close it off in our mind. So yeah, there was a theme going, and I think what we can do is put some trees and various bits and pieces here, and then work on expanding outwards afterwards. It seems like a good idea. Also, the river needs to be kind of, we need to do something with that, something a little bit extra with that. So we can start with rocks. We're going to open up the rocks toolbox, and the way you grab a rock is you click on it, and then the bottom you just drag it out from the toolbox. Very simple, extraordinarily simple. And once you've got the toggles, you just push the toggles up and down, and things happen, and you are happy. That is the way the world works. Big rock. Big rock 2, we're going to do the same thing. We're just dragging it out from the toolbox and just throwing it in. We need to optimize for speed here. So right to rotate, grab the green circle, T to transform, blue arrow. It's going to be different depending on which direction you're facing, and I do see some sort of triangle-y boys here in the terrain. So I'm just going to hit the terrain brush, hit the third option, which is smooth height, to change the size down significantly, change the amount slide into the middle, and then just brush this area here with the smooth terrain brush. Is it going to do anything? Probably not. I think we're going to have to crank it all the way up. Let's do that. That's a little bit better. So what we don't want are sort of weird triangles and stuff on the terrain that just make everything look a little bit unnatural, I think. So we're going back to objects. Excellent. We're going to go grab a big rock, and we're probably going to throw it out. Do we want to throw it out here somewhere? Don't want to keep a theme going. Probably about here, maybe. Let's do that. Excellent. So we're going to hit R to rotate, and then just kind of rotate it a little bit. T to transform, down into the dirt, and then we're going to hit terrain objects. So we don't have anything selected, so we don't have any accidents when we pull stuff out of the toolbox. Excellent. Terrain, we're going to hit set height, re-terrain height, and we are going to go from this, when you click here, where the sand is soft. Going to change the amount slider down because it's inherited between all these 3 terrain modification tools. Change the size down, and then hopefully just brush in here, because now we can have a hard edge, because the rocks themselves take care of the actual island mesh, so we don't need to worry about things looking too weird here. You can brush the sand out, dry sand out into the rock. In fact, what we're going to do is read the terrain set height from a little higher up. It's better. Excellent. And just brush it into these rocks over here. Whoop, and then come over here. Yeah, I really wish we could change this the camera speed, have it like a smoother camera speed. So we're just going to brush the sand into the rock here. Excellent. Come down in 3D space. It looks fine. It looks fine. Smooth tool. I think we will. Slightly bigger, but keep it actually. The amount slider quite low. Size down. Okay, cool. And just click, click, clickety click. Smooth this whole area off a little bit. There we go. Excellent. So we have then dressed this area in preparation for throwing a load of trees and stuff in. We've raised the sand up around here into the rocks themselves. Because we're using the rocks as edging, essentially, we don't need to worry about hard edges in the island mesh itself. So the island mesh being the sand and the grassy layer, that's fine. Objects, we're going to need some trees, and of course they're going to be ficuses, because that's kind of what we got. We don't really have that much in the way of coverage in the game itself. So when it comes to trees and stuff, we don't have a lot of things that we can use to make lush green landscapes. We are probably already beyond what the designers intended when they said, "Oh, we'll give you an island creator and a map editor." They were like, "Well, they just make a desert island with a couple of palm trees on it." No, we're going full bore on this. So ficus tree and ficus tree 2 are the ones that you can't cut down. So we'll drop that down, drop it into the beach. And then be a little bit careful, because we're going to wait for it to snap onto something else, which it usually does. Press C to clone. We grab the red toggle, move it back a bit, press R to rotate. Probably a good thing to get the ficuses in before putting anything else in the world. Oh, wrong toggle. Wrong toggle. Trying to use these toggles in a 3D space is a little bit tricksy, but we'll do what we can. Press T to transform, move that back a bit, R to rotate, because I can see one of the branches is clopping into the other branches. So the trunk doesn't matter if the trunk's touching, if you're just making a world tree, but when it comes to the branches, they probably shouldn't be clipping through each other. That's better. Leaves can, and now it's starting to jump. So the selection, every time we let go, jumps back onto one of these rocks. So we are about as far in as we can get at this point. Excellent, excellent, and excellent. So we're just going to hit terrain and objects, so we don't have any of that tree selected, and do the same thing over here. essentially. So we're going to grab a ficus tree, and we are going to drop it into the terrain, pull it over against this rock, do a little bit of a turny boy, so it comes out over the beach a little bit, and then C to clone, T to transform, push that into that one there as much as we can get away with. It's now selected the other tree, I believe, but that don't matter. That don't matter. We'll just leave it as is. So again, the trunks can mesh, but the branches should not really do that. So that should be fine. So if a branch breaks through another branch, it starts to look a bit weird. Press T to transform. Hopefully we got one of the trees selected. Yep, that's fine. That doesn't look too bad. Not too bad at all. Excellent. So we got a couple of world trees. Because we made them slightly differently, we don't have like that cut and paste look. So they do look like two independent trees. What we could do, technically, is take a ficus tree 1, terrain objects, jam it in here. I'm going to press R to rotate, pull them over a bit, and then T to transform, and then jam that down into the ground, and then R to rotate, and then just kind of bring that over, T to transform, and then kind of bring it in. What have you done? Oh, we've just used 3 trees to make one. What? Yep. And now we've made one even more shrubbery. Shrubbery? Lovely. Excellent. So we can do that. Terrain objects. We could even put another tree just bang in the center. We could do that. We could do that. R to rotate. And then just give them a little rotate there. And then maybe one more. I mean, rule of 3 kind of works quite well here. We could put another one and have four trees. 4 trees? There are 4 lights. No, there are definitely 3 trees. So let's do a little rotate there. Excellent. That's fine. Kind of want to go for the 5th. Yeah, is that going to work? We've not really done this before. So let's do that. Slightly higher up, rotate, spin them around, just make sure that they don't look obvious that they're all the same tree model. No, that kind of looks okay. So we're going to hit terrain objects, so all of this is now deselected. And we've gone from just this kind of bare ass area of sand to a little woody area, which now includes a lot of what's out at sea if you're running this way. And if you're running from this side of the island, there's the boat. You're running this way, now you've got some stuff to look at from here, and if you're up on here, yeah, it kind of encloses this river area, this little delta area. So that's kind of cool. Excellent. I'm liking it already. So I'm going to hit terrain objects just to absolutely make sure we don't have anything selected. I believe rocks are probably a good idea here. I'm wondering if cliffs. I'm wondering if we can get away with a cliff. Just a little cliff. So T to transform, drag that down, and then move that out a little bit. Maybe even rotate it in the ground, and then T, bring that back forward. So we have grass texture on, well, a grass pattern on top of the rock itself, and by doing this, what we can do is I want the red toggle. Is kind of extend this grass texture a little bit without really making it look too weird, and also breaking up the sandbank. Okay, so as we go further away, the level of detail on the rock disappears, and as we get closer, it becomes way more refined. That's going to be less of a problem in the game itself. For some reason, LOD in the map editor is super aggressive, no matter how powerful your computer is. So keep a little eye on it. Keep a little eye on it. Terrain objects, cool. We are going to close rocks. We are going to open trees, and we're going to see if we could. I mean, maybe we get a bush in there. Let's see, bush. A little bit of greenery. A lot of greenery, in fact. But what we can do is jam that right into the ground. Ooh. So a little bit is poking up out of the ground. I'm going to have to check that actually in the game itself, because the LOD, you might get like a final model where everything pokes up way too far out of the ground than you were kind of expecting. So let's do that. Rotate it a little bit. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. Just a little bit. That's a weird thing. So terrain objects, so we deselect that bush. We probably do the same over here. So put it in, T to transform, pull it down, and now we have some ground texture, a little bit of ground detail. Bearing in mind that the bush seems to be just a hard object, so it's kind of one of those things that we deselected it. I think it now lives. It lives there now. Oh, we got it again. Yeah, it's just one of those things that they added. They changed the original bush. I believe the original bush may have been just something from the Unity store, which isn't a problem. It's not a dirty word to grab things from the Unity store, but it might have been like that, and they were just like, oh, we're going to make something ourselves. So we've added some greenery to the bottom of these trees. A little bit of interest. Terrain objects, so we deselect both shrubs. We're going to need some other things here, so aloe vera, maybe. Seems like a good thing to add. We press R to rotate, and then just rotate that a little bit so the leaves aren't clipping into the rock. Green toggle, just push it down into the world. Excellent. I like the way that the leaf comes out over the top of that rock, just kind of breaks up the grey. Excellent. We're going to hit terrain objects again. The reason you do that is because sometimes you have an object selected and then you drag something out of the toolbox. Both the object you drag and the object you have selected move simultaneously. It's like a UI bug. I don't believe it's to do with the game. I believe it's to do with probably focus within Windows or other operating systems. Not quite sure what causes it, but sometimes you'll start dragging something the opposite side of the island, maybe, if you've got something selected and you don't know and you've pushed a rock out to sea or something, and then you spend ages trying to find it because there's no item list. Once you put stuff into the world, you can't just flick through an item list. It just doesn't work that way. So we need some things to be getting on with. So what we can do is grab well, we've got a driftwood pile. Why don't we throw that in while we're here? A little bit of resources. Excellent, I like it. The Cerumen. No, Cerumen 2. Yeah, looks kind of cool. So we're just gonna put them around here. The thing about the rock is it's got like a bounding box around it, so we're gonna put that into the ground so the leaves are kind of over the rock, but the plant is in the ground. That's fine. Some of the leaves are kind of buried into the sand. Not so much of a problem. Not so much of a problem. We're going to do that. So terrain objects again. Let's get rid of that. Nana plant. Ooh, that's dirty. But also, we can also put it actually on the rock itself. I'm going to be a little bit careful by doing this because the banana plant has kind of an aggressive box around it. So if the player runs on top of it, what will happen is the player might actually get stuck. So we're going to have to position this in a way the player, if they do jump on the plant, doesn't get stuck and have to reload a game from an earlier save. Can we do this in such a way where we minimize leaves clipped into the rock? Probably not. I think that's fine. What about here? Is it actually in the rock itself? That's fine. I don't mind that. That's absolutely fine. So what we're doing is breaking up the rock. So we are going to go back to rocks, terrain objects, hello. And we will drop down here, small rock. Just throw that in there to kind of blank off the bottom of the nana, because we don't want it absolutely looking like the nana is just growing out of the rock itself. T to transform, and then we'll just put that in. So the shadows and just the leaves and stuff are just going to obscure the fact that there's no soil there, but it's kind of now looking a little bit more like it's growing, and it's breaking again. It's just there to break up that structure. So we put the rock in to break up the terrain, we put the nana plant in to break up the silhouette of the rock, and we put the smaller rock in to break up the fact that the nana is just kind of essentially just floating in the middle of nowhere. Ah, excellent. Well, we're motoring. That's fine. Some shoreline rocks. We could put them in. The flat ones. These flat ones look real nice. The trouble is, as soon as we let go, that's it. That's where they live. You can barely select Shoreline Rock 1. It's kind of a pain in the backside. Yeah, I don't know why. But Shoreline Rock 2 is kind of good. So we'll do that for a little bit of texture out into the sea, which is fine. We've got this shadow and everything here, but we're going to need to go back to... In fact, while we got the rocks open, we could go back to small rock 1 here, rotate, and then rotate it this way around, T to transform, pull it up, and then just jam it into the ground. So it is just kind of a rock that is jammed into the ground. Okay, terrain objects. Oh, suddenly there's even more breaking up the silhouette of this little vignette. And I do like working with little vignettes. They're really good, because you can go from place to place, and it's just like, oh, that's a cool little thing. That's a cool little thing. That's a cool little thing over there. The forest is a cool little thing. This is a cool little thing. And then later on, when you're just finishing up, you can just add trees and stuff in between, or little vignettes to link everything together. So it actually, the island as a whole becomes a lot of little stories, if that makes sense. I hope it does. So nana plants, aloe vera plants. We should probably add some fruit trees because we added ficus, and we kind of want people to come over and say, oh, ficus, it's a good idea. Lava, lava, lava. No reason for it to exist at the moment. We should probably throw some in, though. Potato plants. Potato. Who wants a potato? Well, anyone who's growing potato. There we are. Potato plant. Let's just make sure that's kind of in the ground. Excellent. Terrain objects, because it's gone and selected a tree, I think, but we want fruit trees, and the reason we want fruit trees is that if we add ficus trees and we encourage people to come and look for resources near the ficus trees, we kind of want to remember to reward them. So this one has a fruit tree, and it's gonna select something else. T to transform, just drop that in the ground. When you have a lot of objects together, you got to make sure that you can actually pick the fruit. So when you're doing a test of the island, make sure you can actually come along and pick the freaking fruit. Pick the freaking fruit. PP. I think so. There's no harm in putting things like PP and stuff down on the island, especially in a world where people are going to get poisoned. PP doesn't regrow, nor does the fruit trees, so it's not so much of an issue. Coconuts don't regrow. The only thing that does regrow is the yucca. So in terms of resources, it looks like we've just put down quite a lot with the aloe vera, the PP, the fruit, and the driftwood. But honestly, not a lot. There's not a lot going on here. I mean, people would come along and just be like, well, I've got all these resources, I don't need to come back again. Speaking of not coming back again, gonna need to add a yucca. So train objects, let's throw a yucca in somewhere here. Okay, so the yuccas are, well, there's a way of getting leaves, but it's also a way of making the player come back to an area that you spent a lot of time working on. So you're like, I want the player to come back and actually, come here and have a look at this thing. So we're throwing the yucca in. Excellent. That's actually pretty sweet. We could do a little bit more here. I think we probably should. Terrain objects. So we've got some palms that we could throw in. We should probably do it here, right at the end. Might be a nice little way of finishing off the island. So if we go to terrain, read terrain set height, click here. That's the wrong button. There is no undo. Okay. Make sure the amount slider is, well, manageable. The amount slider, it just violences your island. Okay, so it's inherited between all these three brushes. Remember to brush things down using the smooth tool. Anywhere where you have these bubbles means there's going to be a gap in the water mesh. Okay, let's try that again. Read terrain set height. Click here. The amount slider is up quite high. Even you don't need it up at all high. It is strange. A very strange brush indeed. A very strange game. The only winning move is not to play. So we're gonna bring this out on this little peninsula. Hopefully we can do this in such a way that we put enough sand in that when we smooth it back, that we lose. So the idea is we lose a lot of this area. The amount slider we can crank up quite a lot. I want to really brush it back and blend it in with the actual world. There we go. Much better. We can turn the water off by hitting the cog and hit display ocean, and then the shadow maps go very, very strange. If you hit display ocean and change the time, what we want to see is the little area of sand not completely disappear. So about there is right. So if we hit terrain and then objects, if we scroll all the way up, in fact if we don't do that, we take a palm tree, Palm, palm 1, do that, palm 2, like that. So we have to rotate. Oh, you've selected some in the background, I can tell. So that's good, and then hit objects, and then maybe a little rock. We're going to need to scroll all the way up. Trees, and then rocks. Terrain objects. So we've got the rock selected. We are going to go with small rock. Ooh, small rock 3. That's a good idea. And press T, transform. Push that down into the world. Pull that back a bit. Rotate. T to transform. I think a little bit more of a rotate. Okay. Just going to check, see how wet and that is around there. Very close to the water layer, but not a problem. So we go back to objects, time, and then change the time back to about midday. There we go. So we've got more light to work with. This area kind of gets connected and deconnected or disconnected. It's kind of like a little peninsula / tiny little sand island, sandbar. So that's kind of a cool little thing. We can actually just go to objects. We can go to Shoreline Rock 2, and we can. I was wondering if we could actually just get the Shoreline Rock back in action, but I think that's going to be too much for what we need it to be. Okay, so we're going to go back to trees. Which is going to be too much. Nana plant. It's a little nan at the end. Yeah, probably actually. Yeah, that might work quite well. Just a little nana, little nana boy. So we can do that. What we need to do is just move it so the leaves aren't clipping through the trunk. Just a bit of a shadow there. I think that's fine. Yeah, the camera's not having a fun time at all. That's not a problem. Terrain objects, and then we can scroll all the way down, and then young palm. One, and then young palm. What we probably also do is find ourselves another driftwood pile. Drag that in there. Alright, and I think making sure nothing's selected, hit up rocks again, and then just toss in a big rock. T. About like that. Excellent. So, that, we close that, hit terrain objects. Close it. Close to what's. Excellent. So we have thrown in a couple of trees on the end of this little island peninsula. We have thrown in quite a detailed little area of foliage, quite a denser area of foliage with rocks, standing stones, trees, bushes, all manner of stuff. Something on the very tip of the island itself. And then, yeah, I'm liking this. I'm liking this a lot. This is working out quite well. So we're just kind of, if we come and stand on this rock here, build in the river delta. We probably should put something on this little island in the middle because, you know, life finds a way. So that would be quite good for us to do. The forest is looking sweet, but there's still stuff to do here. We're going to need to do a lot to actually make it a little bit more believable. But for the time being, I'm going to leave it there. So if you're liking this, definitely leave a little like, leave a subscribe, and if you do subscribe, click the little bell, because that'll give you notifications when videos go live. And I tell you what, I'll catch you next time.